In the quiet, early hours of December 23rd, 2015, a soft blanket of frost settled across Ellington, Connecticut, lending an ethereal glow to the town's colonial homes and winding streets. It was a scene out of a holiday postcard, the quaint, picturesque calm that belied the storm brewing within 7 Birch View Drive. Inside, Connie Dabate, a vibrant pillar of her community known for her almost effervescent kindness, was living the last normal morning of her life. Her 2 young sons, RJ and Connor, buzzed with excitement for the upcoming Christmas break. Their innocent laughter and chatter filled the home, reverberating off the walls like a comforting echo from better times. Connie, a woman whose mere presence could light up a room, was blissfully unaware of the sinister shadows lurking just beyond the edges of her seemingly perfect life. Her husband, Richard, a man compartmentalizing a life of lies, deceit, and hidden desperation, was about to unravel their world. As the clock ticked toward an unforgiving hour, the truth remained buried beneath layers of deceit, waiting for the moment it would unravel, much like the frost that would melt away with the rising sun. Little did anyone know, the peaceful facade was a fragile shell, destined to be shattered by one irrevocable, tragic act. The morning light filtered gently through the curtains of the Dabate family home, casting a warm, golden glow that seemed almost tangible, illuminating the photographs and knickknacks that adorned the shelves and walls. Connie, ever the morning person, bustled around the kitchen. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the crisp, wintry air that seeped in through the slightly ajar window, creating a symphony of comfort and tranquility. Her boys, RJ and Connor, filled the kitchen with the delightful chaos only children can bring, their laughter a melody of innocence and joy. It was the kind of morning that hinted at the perfection of life, of family, of tomorrow's promises, blissfully ignorant of the shadows lurking just beyond the horizon. Connie was the embodiment of warmth. Her very presence seemed to cast away the darkness, replacing it with laughter and love. Known affectionately as the sunshine of her community, she was the neighbor everyone wanted, the friend everyone needed, and the wife who always looked to the brighter side of life. She moved through her home with a practiced ease, a dancer in her own sanctuary, nurturing her family with love and laughter. Her sons, with their cherubic faces and endless energy, orbited around her like planets around the sun, sustained by her mere presence. Yet, unbeknownst to her, Richard, her husband, moved within a different sphere entirely. If Connie was warmth and light, Richard was the counterpart, cloaked in shadows of doubt and deception. He wore his lies like a second skin, his dual life an intricate web spun from the threads of deceit and desperation. Each day, he navigated this complex tapestry, maintaining a facade of normalcy while quietly fighting against the walls that were closing in. His mind was a chaotic labyrinth of plans and promises, a cacophony of conflicting desires and fears, each moment bringing him closer to the edge of an abyss he had created for himself. The morning unfolded predictably enough, the boys preparing for school with an enthusiasm that only the proximity of Christmas could inspire. Excitement was a tangible force within the Dabate home, and Connie, ever the nurturing spirit, was at the heart of it, making sure her sons had everything they needed for the day ahead. Richard, meanwhile, adhered to his meticulous schedule, or so it seemed, claiming to leave for work at the usual time. He played his role with the precision of an actor on stage, yet each act was fraught with the tension of an impending climax. As the clock's hands inched forward, Connie prepared to leave for her morning spinning class at the local YMCA, a ritual she cherished. Fitness was more than a pastime for her. It was a testament to her commitment to living life fully. She left the house with a lightness to her step, unaware that each step was being recorded with scientific precision by the unassuming device clipped to her hip, her ever-faithful Fitbit. Richard, however, was not the man he presented to the world. Behind his reserved demeanor lay a mind grappling with secrets that threatened to unravel his carefully constructed reality. His affair with Sarah Ganza, a specter from the past, had resurfaced with a vengeance, bringing with it the weight of consequence that now loomed over his marriage, his family, his very existence. Each promise he made to Sarah was a thread in the web of deception that ensnared him further, each lie to Connie a step further away from the life he once knew. The morning advanced with an eerie precision, each moment a brush stroke in a painting whose colors were about to darken irrevocably. The digital footprints left behind by Richard were invisible to the naked eye, but would later illuminate the path of his deceit. Facebook logins, Google searches, and alarm fobs would create a tapestry of truth that technology would meticulously weave into the narrative of that fateful day. Connie's return home was unexpected, the spinning class canceled, her day disrupted. Her presence, recorded by her Fitbit, told a story of life unfolding in her home, unaware of the storm gathering in the distance. The moments that followed were saturated with normalcy. Her movements through the house, the videos posted to Facebook, all whispering of a life lived without knowledge of the darkness shadowing it. Yet, as the morning ticked into late hours, the world as Connie knew it would cease to exist. The sanctuary she had built, now a stage for the tragic finale orchestrated by the man she loved, would soon fall silent. The weight of Richard's choices bore down with a suffocating inevitability, the truth poised to burst forth from the shadows. The day that began like any other would end with a silence that spoke volumes, a life extinguished, a family shattered, and the indelible mark of a tragedy that would echo through the years, borne witness by the silent, unerring testimony of technology. The air that enveloped the quaint colonial home at 7 Birchview Drive felt different that morning, though to an outsider, it may have seemed like any other day in December. The sky was dressed in a blanket of steely gray clouds, and the ground was still holding onto the frost that had kissed it overnight. This was the kind of chill that crept into bones, whispering secrets only the wind could understand. Connie Dabate, with her ever-present optimism, would have likely described it as invigorating, a breath of life in the brisk Connecticut air. Inside, the home was a sanctuary that spoke of years filled with love, laughter, and the inevitable ups and downs of life. The walls were adorned with family photographs that captured fleeting moments of joy, a testament to the life Connie had built, a life that seemed untouched by the troubles that loomed in the shadows. The scent of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the kitchen, mingling with the soft citrus from the bowl of tangerines on the counter, an aroma that often signaled the start of her busy day. Connie had a routine, a rhythm she followed like a well-practiced dance. She moved through her morning with the grace and efficiency of someone used to juggling numerous roles, a dedicated mother, an accomplished professional, a committed community volunteer. Each step was deliberate, each action performed with the kind of focus that masked the undercurrent of anxiety she had been battling in recent weeks. The email she had drafted, the call she had made, were all an attempt to anchor herself amidst the tumult she could feel swirling around her. Her family and friends knew her as a beacon of light, a woman whose warmth could melt even the iciest of days. Yet, beneath her radiant exterior, Connie harbored worries. Concerns about finances, about Richard's erratic behavior, and the subtle shifts she had sensed in their marriage. But Connie was nothing if not hopeful, believing deeply in the power of love and the possibility of renewal, even in the face of doubt. It was this belief that saw her through the challenges with her father's illness and her son's medical needs, binding her family together with threads of resilience. That morning, as Connie prepared to leave for her spin class, an activity she cherished not just for the physical exercise but for the meditative space it provided, there was a sense of determination in her movements. Her decision to reach out to a therapist for hypnosis was a step towards clarity, a quiet acknowledgement that she needed help untangling the knotted threads of her mind. She could feel the weight of her world pressing down, yet she was resolved to carry it with grace. Richard, on the other hand, was unraveling. The secrets he kept were like a dark, swirling storm cloud, threatening to burst at any moment. His mind was a cacophony of fears and calculations, each thought more tangled than the last. He was trapped in a web of his own making, with nowhere to turn and no one to turn to. The pressures of his double life, the anticipation of his child with Sarah, and the fear of losing the life he had grown accustomed to, were all colliding in a catastrophic crescendo. As Connie left the house, unaware of the fateful day that lay ahead, Richard was caught in the clutches of his own desperation. He had constructed a fragile facade, one that was already showing signs of fracture. The quiet of the house, once a solace, now felt like the echo of things left unsaid. Richard's actions that morning were deliberate, each movement a calculated attempt to maintain control over a life spiraling out of his grasp. He watched the minutes tick by, knowing that with each passing second, he was inching closer to a decision that would irrevocably alter the course of their lives. The truth, however, lay in the details, the digital footprints that would later tell a story of betrayal and murder, illuminated by the glow of technology. The very tools of modern life, intended to connect and simplify, became the silent witnesses to the tragedy that unfolded. Each step Connie took, each email Richard sent, was being recorded in a tapestry of data that would ultimately reveal the grim reality. The home, once vibrant with the sounds of family, now stood as a repository of secrets, waiting for the veil to be lifted. As the hours slipped by, the day held its breath, suspended in the tension of what was to come. The normalcy that Connie and Richard had woven so carefully was about to unravel, leaving only strands of what once was. A reminder of how quickly life can change and how the unseen can leave its mark in the most unexpected ways. The morning sun cast a golden glow through the windows of the four-bedroom colonial home at 7 Birch View Drive, creating a tableau of domestic tranquility. But beneath the serene facade, dark currents were swirling, threatening to erupt into chaos at any moment. Richard Dabate stood in the kitchen, his mind a cacophony of conflicting thoughts, the weight of his impending decisions pressing down like a physical force. He watched Connie through the window as she shepherded their sons out to the bus, her laughter echoing faintly in the crisp December air, a melody of innocence and normalcy that he could hardly bear. Connie appeared vibrant and full of life, the embodiment of warmth and kindness, unaware of the insidious shadows encroaching upon her world. Her presence was a force field of positivity, a stark contrast to the tension Richard felt tightening around him like a noose. While the boys clambered onto the school bus with enthusiasm, their mother waved them off with a smile that lit up her face, an image of familial bliss that would soon be indelibly marred by the events to come. Inside, the house was still, the silence only punctuated by the distant hum of traffic and the occasional rustle of leaves against the windows. Richard moved with a mechanical precision, his actions dictated by a mind racing with thoughts too quick and too dark to capture in full. He glanced at the clock. It was almost 8:30 a.m., the moment when his narrative would begin to fracture and unravel. The morning was typical in its routine, yet every action felt fraught with significance, as if each moment were a bead being strung along a thread that would soon snap. Richard claimed to have left for work, yet the digital footprints he left behind told a different story. His presence lingered in the home like a specter, haunting the digital landscape with every keystroke and search query. At 8:26 a.m., Facebook flickered to life under his fingertips, and with it, an insidious blueprint began to take form. Connie, unaware of the invisible lines being drawn around her fate, departed for her spinning class at the YMCA, a sense of purpose in her stride as she prioritized her health amidst the holiday chaos. Her Fitbit, an instrument of wellness, clipped to her hip, ticked away the seconds and steps, documenting every move with the impartiality of a judge. As she left, the house became a vacuum, the absence of her presence a harbinger of the emptiness that was about to descend. Richard's story was a narrative of deceit woven intricately with threads of technology and time, each line an interlocking piece of a puzzle he was desperate to solve. Between 8:30 and 8:40 a.m., he said he had left for work, but the digital evidence was relentless in its truth-telling. The home alarm system's logs, like an omniscient observer, began to piece together a sequence of actions that defied his claims. He armed it with his keychain fob, an action tethered to proximity, an inadmissible error in his carefully constructed facade. Connie's return home at 9:23 a.m. was an unscheduled symphony of footsteps and familiarity, her presence reanimating the house with the vitality it had been missing. Her movements, captured by her Fitbit, painted a picture of domestic normalcy. 1,217 feet measured in small, deliberate steps as she navigated her morning routine, blissfully unaware of the danger lurking within her home. The Facebook video she posted at 9:40 and 9:46 a.m. captured moments of joy and optimism, contrasting starkly with the encroaching darkness Richard was about to unleash. The clock ticked inexorably toward 10:05 a.m., a point of no return in Richard's descent into betrayal. Connie's Fitbit, once a silent witness to her vigor and movement, abruptly ceased its recordings, a digital tombstone marking her final moments. The panic alarm screamed into the void at 10:12 a.m., a signal of distress that belied the story Richard would tell, a narrative of intrusion and violence that seemed as fragile and hollow as his alibis. When first responders arrived, they found Richard poised on the precipice of his own creation, an actor in a tragedy of his own making. His story of an intrusion was a tapestry woven with inconsistencies, the police dogs circling him like harbingers of truth, their noses unable to detect any trail but his, leading only to a story of betrayal and murder. Technology had captured the descent with unerring accuracy, and now, as the day faded into evening, the house at 7 Birch View Drive stood as a monument to the eternal conflict between truth and deception, each wall a testament to the lives forever changed within its embrace. The evening sky was a deep, bruised shade of indigo as twilight descended upon the small town of Ellington. A chilling whisper of wind meandered through the trees, rustling the fallen leaves that lay scattered like secrets across the ground. The Dabate house stood dark and silent, a monument to the tragedy that had unfolded within its walls, a mausoleum of memories and unanswered questions. The whispers of its past seemed to seep through its bricks, an invisible fog that clung to the air with a haunted tenacity. Inside, the house was a hollow shell of its former self. The absence of Connie Margaretta Dabate was a palpable void, her presence lingering like a ghost that refused to be exorcised. The rooms were filled with shadows, the kind that stretched and shrank with every shift of the moonlight filtering through the lace curtains. It was as if the house itself was mourning, the creaks of its old wood floors reminiscent of a lament for the sunshine that had once illuminated its chambers. Richard Dabate had spun a web of deceit so intricate that it almost had a life of its own, a life that now hung in the balance between truth and illusion. He had been an architect of his own demise, crafting a narrative of intrusion that crumbled like ash upon the breath of scrutiny. His lies were like the brittle leaves outside, scattered and swept away by the relentless pursuit of justice. Yet in those final moments, as the panic alarm pierced the quiet morning, what truly echoed was the silent scream of a life taken too soon. The psychological landscape of Richard's mind was a labyrinth of contradiction and betrayal. His thoughts twisted like vines in a forgotten garden, choking out the light of reason. He had stood on the precipice, teetering between love and greed. And when he fell, he took with him the very soul of the woman who had been his wife. Richard was a man caught in the throes of his own discontent, a prisoner of desires he could not reconcile. His dreams of freedom had become shackles, dragging him deeper into the abyss he had carved with his own hands. Connie, in contrast, was a beacon of warmth and vitality, a woman whose vibrancy colored the world around her in hues of joy and compassion. Her life was a kaleidoscope of achievements and affections, each a thread woven into the fabric of her existence. She had been devoted, not only to her family, but to her community, her spirit forever etched into the hearts of those she had touched. Her death was a cold, sudden eclipse, her light snuffed out by the shadows of deceit. The atmosphere was tinged with the eerie resonance of something mystical, as though the universe itself was aligning in quiet retribution. The very air seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the scales of justice to tip in favor of truth. Connie's Fitbit, a seemingly innocuous piece of technology, had become the oracle of her final hours, its digital heartbeat recording the rhythm of her life until the moment it stopped. It was a silent witness, speaking volumes in data and timestamps, piecing together the puzzle of her last day with unerring precision. As the investigation unraveled Richard's carefully constructed illusion, the town found itself caught in the web of intrigue. Conversations murmured in hushed tones, as if afraid the very walls might absorb and disclose their secrets. The community, once bound by shared joys and sorrows, now grappled with the horror that had tainted their peace. Yet, even amidst the chaos, there was an undeniable sense of unity, a collective resolve to remember Connie not for her tragic end, but for the light she had shared. In the courtroom, the weight of evidence bore down upon Richard, a spectral force pressing the truth from his reluctant grasp. He stood a solitary figure, surrounded by the echoes of his lies, each one unraveling like a thread pulled from a fraying tapestry. The digital evidence, relentless and unforgiving, stripped away the facade he had so desperately clung to, laying bare the reality he could no longer deny. In the end, it was Connie's own story, etched in the data of her Fitbit and the memories of her loved ones, that sealed Richard's fate. Her essence lingered on, a whisper in the wind, a lingering warmth in the hearts of those she had left behind. As the gavel fell, sealing Richard's fate, the air was charged with the bittersweet taste of justice. A justice served not only by the relentless pursuit of truth, but by the enduring light of Connie's spirit, a beacon against the shadow of deceit. The courtroom buzzed with a heavy anticipation as the sentencing loomed, the weight of years of deception and betrayal bearing down upon every soul present. Richard Dabate, once a figure known for his technical acumen and quirky humor, now stood stripped of any semblance of humanity, reduced to the raw embodiment of selfish cruelty and moral decay. His once meticulously constructed facade had crumbled spectacularly under the relentless pursuit of truth, revealing a man consumed by greed, cowardice, and a chilling disregard for life. The air was tense with a palpable disdain that seemed to physically manifest, swirling around Richard as if willing him to acknowledge the gravity of his actions. He stood there, shoulders hunched, eyes downcast, perhaps finally realizing that the digital breadcrumbs he had so carelessly scattered had not only led to his unraveling, but had etched an indelible stain on his soul. The courtroom was a stark contrast to the vibrant life Connie had led, a life filled with love, compassion, and an unyielding dedication to her family and community. Richard's actions were a grotesque shadow of that light, blackening everything they touched with a bitter residue of betrayal. As he stood, awaiting his fate, the memories of his deceit played out like a sordid drama in the minds of the jury and those present. His affair with Sarah Ganza, a woman who had perhaps seen a flicker of potential in Richard, was the catalyst for a descent into darkness that neither he nor anyone else could have anticipated. Richard's lies, carefully spun over months and years, had become a tangled web that choked the very life from Connie, both figuratively and, ultimately, literally. He had promised Sarah a future built on the ruins of his marriage. Yet when confronted with the reality of his impending fatherhood and the responsibilities it entailed, he had chosen the path of cowardice and violence. Richard's attempts to stage a home invasion, a plan so riddled with inconsistencies and technological footprints, revealed not only a lack of foresight, but a gross underestimation of the very tools he had once mastered. The Fitbit on Connie's hip, an innocuous device meant to track steps and promote health, became the silent yet damning witness to Richard's monstrous act. The data it recorded was a testament to modern technology's ability to hold even the most cunning of criminals accountable, to illuminate the darkest corners of human nature with unforgiving precision. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Richard's proclamations of innocence rang hollow, a desperate clinging to the shreds of a narrative he could no longer control. His words, devoid of sincerity, hung in the air like the final notes of a somber requiem, a futile attempt to cast himself as a victim in a tragedy of his own making. Yet, it was Connie who was the true victim, her life snuffed out by a man who had vowed to love and protect her. The financial betrayal, revealed in excruciating detail during the trial, was a further testament to Richard's callousness. The calculated depletion of Connie's estate, leaving their sons with a paltry sum of $6.24, an amount that couldn't even begin to provide for their futures, was an insult to her memory and a stark reminder of Richard's insatiable greed. It was a betrayal of trust so profound that it left an indelible mark on everyone who bore witness to the proceedings. In sentencing, Judge Karen Klatt's words resonated with a gravity that underscored the seriousness of Richard's crimes. 65 years in prison was a prison sentence that reflected not just the loss of Connie's life, but the irrevocable damage done to her legacy, her family, and the community that had cherished her. As the gavel fell, sealing his fate, it served as a reminder of the justice that Connie, through her own quiet vigilance, had demanded from beyond the grave. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the courtroom began to empty, Connie's family and friends could finally begin to breathe, knowing that the man who had caused such unimaginable heartache would no longer be able to harm anyone else. Yet their relief was tempered by the profound sadness of a life ended too soon, of dreams left unfulfilled, and the enduring question of how someone could betray the very essence of love and family. As Richard was led away, the courtroom's atmosphere shifted from one of condemnation to one of remembrance. Connie's legacy, defined not by her tragic death but by her vibrant life and unwavering spirit, lived on in the hearts of those she had touched. Her community, galvanized by her memory, ensured her sons' futures through a college fund, a testament to the enduring impact of her kindness and the light she had brought into their lives. Connie Margarita Dabate would be remembered not for the darkness that sought to extinguish her, but for the brilliant, unwavering light she had been. In the dimly lit courtroom, as the gavel echoed its finality, the weight of justice settled over the space like a heavy fog, a fog that had threatened to obscure the truth but ultimately gave way to light. The atmosphere was both somber and electric, charged with the tension of lives altered irreparably, yet relieved by the piercing clarity of a verdict that spoke unequivocally for justice. Eyes that had been clouded with grief now brimmed with a bittersweet blend of sorrow and solace. The walls seemed to reverberate with the silent echoes of Connie's laughter, a reminder of the warmth that had once filled her home and heart. Perhaps it was the gentle rustle of paper as the sentence was read, or the resolute faces of the jurors, but there was an undeniable sense of closure that whispered through the room. For Connie's family, the journey had been arduous, a harrowing odyssey through betrayal and heartache, yet their resolve remained unbroken. Their tears, a testament to love that could not be extinguished, mirrored the collective grief of a community that had lost one of its brightest sparks. As they left the courthouse, the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that intertwined with the indelible memories of a woman who had radiated kindness and joy. Her legacy, now immortalized not just in the realm of law, but in the hearts of her sons and those she had touched, promised a brightness that could not be dimmed by the darkness of her untimely end. In the end, Connie Margarita Dabate, the unwitting heroine whose story would inspire change and awareness, looked down upon a world she had made better, leaving behind a light that would forever guide those she loved toward a future she had always believed in.